Hi, I am Ritu, and from Adventurize, this is Venturing Beyond 9 to 5, a podcast where we delve into the career stories, experiences, and passions of ambitious individuals. And today we have with us Savita Nanjappa, who is an award winning business coach, founder of global coaching platform Success with Savita, podcast host, contributor at Forbes, international speaker, and a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. As an internationally certified coach, she has coached over 300 plus businesses, impacted 3,000 plus clients, and has clients all around the world. She's the host of the Success with Savita podcast, which has over 150,000 plus downloads and is growing, and has featured some really cool and brilliant guests on the show. So definitely check it out. And in this conversation, we discuss about her journey as a podcaster and what all does ideating, producing, and promoting a well-made podcast really entail. We also talk about her work as a business coach and the coaching industry in general. So, if you want to pursue a career in coaching of any kind, want to become a podcaster, or are just fascinated with the world of audio content and how it generally works, or if you just want to learn about social media marketing and personal branding generally, then you should definitely check this podcast out. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at adventure.rise, which is ADVENTU.RISE. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Venturing Beyond 9 to 5. And our podcast is also available on all major streaming platforms if you prefer audio only. And if you have any questions or feedback for us, make sure to DM us on Instagram or email us. Again, all details are in the description. Yeah, I love that you have the mic. So it's like the real, podcasting going on from both sides.
Yeah, because I found that my on Zoom the audio quality isn't too great, so I prefer
Mhm.
to
Do you do your recordings on Zoom as well?
yeah.
Or
I tried
okay.
Squadcast, but what happens with Squadcast is if the guest network is not very good, it doesn't let them log on. They have to try, and I don't want to take that chance with guests.
Right.
So I just moved back to Zoom. I'm going to try out Zencast next and see if that works.
Yeah, I've heard that one's pretty good too, especially
Yeah,
with the audio quality.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we've just been using Zoom. It's been fine so far, but yeah, I
Yeah,
noticed like little things with like, background sound and stuff. It does catch that, which is quite
yeah,
annoying to edit out later.
yeah.
So,
I think now Zoom has introduced a package where you can get two different audios. I think. Yeah, I need to
yeah.
check that.
hmm Yeah, it's in the setting itself. We
Yeah,
that's what we do. It helps out with editing a lot. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking time out for this. I know we had to reschedule and stuff, but really glad we could make it today, especially because it's the International Podcast Day today. So
Yes.
that works out great as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So that's quite exciting. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk to you about podcasting itself, since your podcast, the Success with Savita podcast, has been doing really, really well, and I've been seeing it all everywhere, which is amazing. So congratulations for that. And also about business coaching, because that's something we see that a lot on social media, but we don't really know what it actually
Mm,
entails to be a
sure.
coach yourself.
Yeah.
So these are the two things I kind of wanted to focus on today. So do you have any questions before we get started, by the way?
No, no, nothing. But thank you for
Hmm.
about the podcast. Thank you for all the kind, generous compliments.
No, yeah, I was like, I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and it's so weird because podcasts, like listening to podcasts is so intimate, right? Because you're with yourself for the most part
Yeah,
when you're listening. So I
yeah.
feel like I already know you because your voice is so familiar at this point, even though this is literally the second time we're talking. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about podcasting and then come
Okay.
back to coaching a little
Sure,
bit later as
sure.
well. So we can break that down that way. So you've had like an amazing podcast going on for the past several months now, and you've had some really cool guests. So my
Mm.
first question to you is, what does your like approach towards outreach look like?
Okay. So thank you for the podcast. It was something that I never expected to take off the way it has. My outreach is I do outreach every single day. But before I started the podcast, also, I made like this massive wish list of guests that I would like. What has helped is having a niche. I know that, I would love to talk to every celebrity out there, but my filter is, do they have a business? What can they teach my audience? Because
Mhm.
mine is a bit business podcast. So my filter has been, my niche has been business. So I focus on those areas. So I don't need to, unless there's a wellness coach, maybe there's somebody in the wellness space. But if they have a business, then I like to speak to them. Otherwise, it's not really. So that's my first filter for choosing guests, have
Mhm.
knowing very clearly what my niche is. The second is I have the wish list. I have a ready template that I use. I customize it, of course, and I make take a little time to research my guests, so I know when I'm out reaching
Mhm.
out to them, I'm writing in their email why I'm reaching out to them and what I'd like them to speak about when it comes to my audience. So I have like three segments in mind. What I do is, one is from the ground up, which is how they build their business from the ground up, which works for all business owners, founders, and especially those who have built their brands from zero to and now have scaled it. The second group is those who can who can teach my audience something, how to grow your Instagram, how to grow on LinkedIn, how to find the right career for you, all of that, how to build leadership. So it's all the how to segments. So can they teach my audience something? And then the third one is if they're motivational. Some guests are just like their body of work is so inspirational, so motivational. I try to keep this segment to a bare minimum because it's also not easy to get access to some of these guests. But if they fit in, then I do the outreach. So I regularly send out my outreach emails.
Mhm.
That's a process. I also do it on social media. I send them DMs, and on LinkedIn as well. I do my outreach. A lot of people will respond, but know that 90% will not, and be okay with that rejection. There's like, you've just got to move on.
Yeah.
You can't feel bad about it, but there's no harm to come back, circle back again in a few months and say, hey, do you think this is a good time?
Yeah, no, it does require a lot of patience, as we're also realizing with our outreach. And
Yeah,
you'd think that find a list of people, send an email, and it's done, but it's usually not, because it's always the back
yeah,
and forth that
yeah,
goes on for a while, and then you have to follow up and all of those things. You definitely gotta like spare, like keep some time for it, and also be super
yeah,
super patient with the whole process itself.
yeah.
So outreach is definitely like the very beginning of what
I
you try to
feel you. I
do.
feel you. I'm there with you in the same journey.
I
Yeah.
know, yeah, we can relate on that to a large extent. And then the second part of that comes, which is really, researching the guest. And now this is something that we are sort of trying to figure out right now as well, on how much time should you be spending in, like, trying to not just research the guest itself, but their body of work. So if you want to ask, informed questions, like, I wanted to ask you about coaching. So should I spend a lot of time researching about coaching myself, or should I just leave it up to the guests to give all the information themselves? So how do you find that balance, or do you have a
Yeah.
structure in place for that?
No, it really depends on the guest. Like some people who, if you have a high profile guest, they do expect a little bit of homework, like,
Hmm.
you know, but you don't really have to do a lot of research. But here's the thing, like, if you're going to research an author, maybe you should have read that book,
Right,
before
yeah.
you
Hmm.
speak to that author. Same thing can be if you're going to research someone who's got some, maybe they have a YouTube channel. Check out a few. You don't have to
Hmm.
spend hours, but if you can get the gist of what they've done, what their achievements are, and also anyway, you can, when you ask for the bio, you kind of know what else some of
Hmm.
them are sharing. So you don't need to do a lot of research. For me, in fact, the research phase comes in before my interview, after they've said yes, and before I start my interview, so I can ask them some really sensible questions. But having said that, like there is this other podcast who was sharing that sometimes he just goes in, he doesn't do any research, and he's a very very popular podcaster,
Mhm.
Varun Dugirala his name is. So he said he just doesn't do a lot of research, he goes in and then the guests walk him through it. So it's, I think it's okay, it's good to
Mhm.
know, you have to know something about your guests so you can have meaningful questions in place. But it's not like you have to do everything. Like I did a interview with Anupama Chopra. Halfway through, I asked her
Yeah, I
this
saw that.
question saying, did you always know you wanted to be in Bollywood, without having done the research that actually her family was in Bollywood. Her mother was the screenwriter, scriptwriter for the
Mhm.
one of Bollywood's greatest movies, Prem Rog. And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I said that. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And so those are things I feel like I was like, oh, that was a stupid question. But she was very chill about it. So you learn along the way. But I think a
Mhm.
little bit of research is good, just so you can ask more sensible questions.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And like, yeah, like you said, like some hosts just don't do that, some do. And then that's the thing with podcasting or any form of content in general. I think it's if you get like an engaged enough audience, you are
Yeah.
able to, get a hold of them regardless of how you approach it. I was just attending a Geo7 event yesterday, which was around podcasting, and they had like a bunch of panelists who were sort of, experts on in the field itself, also like creative producers and on the back end
Mhm.
stuff of it. And they had a guest, if you know the Seen and the Unseen podcast by Amit Verma. His
Mhm.
podcasts are like 2 hours, 3 hours long
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
and he just refuses to make them shorter regardless of what people tell him. But he's got those few thousand followers that will go and watch those couple of hours of podcast like on YouTube or even listen
yeah,
to it.
yeah,
And then the other guest had like a 5 minute podcast, and
yeah,
even that podcast gets a lot of engagement. So that's the thing, it's like is you can approach it the way you want, as long as you're getting that sort of feedback from the audience, and you're doing what is
yeah,
actually your audience's
yeah,
requirement basically.
yeah,
That's what we're trying to figure out right now, right? We are on like some 13 odd episodes at the moment, so still like really in the early stages figuring
yeah.
it out. So have you been able to get that sort of like feedback loop from your audience? Like how do you approach that? Because the way podcasting works, unless there's a lot of comments left on your YouTube channel, which is still a video, not just podcast
Yeah,
itself. So on the audio streaming platform themselves, there isn't like a lot of way for you to really know what
yeah,
your audience has to say about it.
yeah.
So have you found a way around that?
Not really. One thing, there are a couple of things that I do. One is I do ask them to share in the DMs in my Instagram any feedback that they have. That are
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of people will tell me. But I have to say that maybe, like I have friends who can be really harsh and tell me stuff.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. Having done that, what I do track heavily is my metrics. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been a data driven person. I'm very particular. Maybe I learned it in having been in corporate, but I'm very particular about my analytics. So I always track how many people listen, which episodes are doing well. One thing I like to track, and right now it's not easily available, but I do ask Hubhopper for it, is how, like, what's the sweet, when do people drop off, how long are they listening
Right.
for,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that kind of tells me the sweet spot. What I feel today for my podcast, I feel the sweet spot is somewhere between 35 to 40 minutes. After that, attention span starts to drop
Mm-hmm.
again. It also depends. Like there was one of my guests who spoke for about 55 minutes, but she was breaking down the book writing process, and that was again really popular because everyone wanted to know, okay, because the questions I was asking her was, okay, so you start to write the book, how do you come up with the idea? Now you've written your book, how do you plan out your book writing? Now that your book is ready, how do you plan your creatives?
Mm-hmm.
How do you publish? So people wanted to know those steps. So it depends also on your topic and how long people
Right.
will listen. But I think the biggest metric to track for you to be able to understand is at what point are people quitting on listening to the podcast.
That's the same
Listen,
as retention rate, right?
yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
retention rate, I'm not sure, it depends, each platform tracks
Mm-hmm.
differently. I listen to the listen time. On
Okay.
Hubhopper we say listen time, but I think
Okay.
retention rate could also mean how many are coming back again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but I think
You
they
may need to
track it.
check that.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we usually go to the Spotify's dashboard because right now
Oh,
we're using Anchor, planning on switching. So let's see how that
yeah,
goes because it's
yeah.
not like the best comprehensive metric in place at the moment. But I've heard great things about Hubhopper as well, especially with their data, which is
Yeah, they're doing a
yeah.
lot of work on it. I think it's going to be work in progress, but
Mhm.
a year from now, you're going to be like all of them are working on it. Everybody's investing in podcasting dashboards and
Mhm.
metrics. All the platforms are investing. So I think we'll have access to a lot of great metrics and insights.
Right, especially with the surge of number of podcasters in the past year or so, with all the
Yeah,
regional podcasts coming into play.
yeah,
I think there's too many creators right now, and the software behind it isn't the most ideal, especially how it works with Instagram and YouTube. It's a lot
yeah.
more advanced that way. So yeah, definitely, I do feel like a lot of things coming on that front as well. Now talking about the whole process of the logistics that go behind posting like a publishing a podcast after it's recorded, right?
Hmm.
So in my experience it usually takes a lot longer than I'd expected it to earlier. Of course, editing and stuff is something that really depends on how much of a perfectionist you are and what kinds
Yeah,
of fillers you're able to keep in and things like that. But even apart from that, the artwork that goes into it, the content, the description that you have to write, the titles you have to make,
yeah,
and everything around that, and also the promotion. So
yeah.
how do you approach that, and have you found like a mechanism with which you're able to sort of reduce the
Time.
the time behind that? Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing is, I think batching is a great way to do it. So I'm not someone who records for the month and just waits. I'm actually recording all the time because my mantra
Mhm.
is I didn't know it would take so much time. I really thought
Yeah.
podcasting would be very easy till the first month happened. And I was like scrambling, right?
Yeah.
So for editing, number one, when it comes to interviews, I keep doing interviews regularly and I try to bank them. Are we there yet? Not yet. I still need to plan out well in advance. Right now, we are still recording for October, or maybe I'm just 1 week. I have my next week's episode ready. I don't want to do that. I actually want to have my December episode ready. So I want to be there. So
Wow.
that's why we are batching. So that really helps, where if you can book as many interviews as you can and start banking it, you're in a better place. Second is with editing. I do have help to edit, but I have taught myself editing as well. I have an intern who helps me with editing, so that goes
Mhm.
faster, and he's very fast as well. But for the creatives, there's a template. For my show notes, I have gotten pretty good at writing it myself, but I do have an intern who's helping me as well. Again, if you have the episodes ready, you can work backwards. So having a standard template, even for social media distribution and even for the cover of the episode, having standard templates helps. So that's the
Mhm.
workaround. And I think, yeah, these are the 3 4 things that I do. So I am much faster now. So what happens is that, in fact, I'm now fast enough that I have the episode recorded. I have editing instructions in place. My team picks it up. They're editing it. I have a second person who does the show notes. So she also does the quality check, because there have been times when something has been like, not edited out or there's some
Mhm.
mess. So she does the quality check as well. And then on the day off, which is Monday morning when we release, I have my template ready, my artwork ready. So I have that. I also have my social media templates ready. So I have the
Mhm.
show notes as well. So all of that is set up. I usually put it up. I use Planoly, which is for Instagram, a scheduler. And for LinkedIn, you can use Hootsuite. So,
Mhm.
if you can host it on that, schedule it, then it automatically gets posted at a certain time.
Oh,
The
cool.
only thing I have to do a little extra work is only after the episode releases, I then go on Headliner app and then I get the audiogram out
Oh,
if I
perfect.
want to do an
Uh-huh.
audio. Yeah. There
Mhm.
is, of course, what I do is I don't release the YouTube episode the same day. I release the YouTube episode either later, or right now we're actually doing some IGTV cuts so we can actually keep pushing podcast promos by taking out a few clips and saying, hey, have you caught this episode? And then we're using it to run IGTV. So it's not that the episode goes up live immediately
Mhm.
on
That makes
YouTube.
sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of softwares, but in terms of like the designing and the other, artwork stuff, do you have specific
Canva.
softwares? Canva,
Yeah,
yeah,
I use
that's what we use
Canva
too.
for design. I use Planoly for scheduling on Instagram,
Mhm.
Hootsuite for scheduling on LinkedIn, Headliner app for the audiogram. And Headliner is really quite useful because you can actually get to you can get the transcription. So if some people
Oh,
use the transcription, then you can use that. Actually, you can use the transcription and convert your podcast into a blog post. So you can do
yeah.
so many things around that. So yeah.
No, that's amazing. We've been meaning to like have a blog post, like blog page set up for this. And
Mhm.
I'd heard of the WordPress's automated audio to text thing, but it didn't work out that great for us. But yeah, these are
Okay.
good ones to know. We didn't know about that. And all the Googling that we have done, these never really came up. So this is
Otter
helpful.
AI is a great transcription tool. They have a free
Okay.
version as well. You may need to check how many they have free. Planoly
Mhm.
also has a free version where you're allowed to do 30 posts a month, which is good.
Good.
So
Yeah.
you can start with the free version and then move to the paid one. Yeah.
Those are really helpful to know for sure. I'll definitely check them out. So in terms of like, the promotion specifically, you mentioned you do a bunch of things on LinkedIn on and Instagram, but
Mhm.
outside of that, do you have like, newsletters going out or any
Yeah.
sort of like, reminder for the audience to check out the
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast?
Yeah, so I do have it goes out to my email list, so I send out a newsletter. I'm also thinking I'm still contemplating it. I probably will
Mhm.
do it soon. I am also thinking of running a few ads on other podcasts to have people listen in. I've not yet decided, so that happens. And then we have a strategic partnership in place with Chennai Live, which is India's first internet radio. And so what they do is they play the podcast live as well, but that happens at a later date. So what happens is we keep on getting listens and over a period of time instead of just for that episode on that one day or in that one week.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I've heard that, these kinds of partnerships really play out well in terms of like getting that sort of engagement, especially with like, the established
Yeah.
apps that are already out there that already have that kind of traction. So outside of that, you obviously work with Hubhopper as well, but like how do you approach these partnerships? Like, do you reach out to them or did you wait till you have a little bit of, audience and listeners to go about that? How did that
Yeah.
process look like?
Great question. Actually, the Chennai Live partnership came about on its own. They reached out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it's because the thing is, not a lot of podcasts. You can launch a lot. There are a lot of podcasts out there. Not all of them are consistent. So I think
Mm-hmm.
consistency plays a key role. Having said that, with sponsorships, I haven't made a monetization pitch yet. Now we are pitching for monetization, brand signups, things like that. I thought I would do 100K before I actually, good to have a sizable audience before you kind of take it to a
Mm-hmm.
brand. But Chennai Live happened organically. And with Hubhopper, they do some promotions as well for their original podcasts. So they also did some PR. But mostly, I think it's just consistency. They were looking for people whose podcasts are out there and are regular, and that's how it worked out at this point. But having said that, to the people who are listening, you should pitch, you should put yourself out there, you should reach out, because you never know what can come up for you.
Right, yeah. That's something we are only realizing recently after, a couple of
Yeah.
months of doing this. Those things are really important. Even if
Yeah.
it's like a tiny feature on someone's Instagram page,
Yeah.
that definitely goes a long way for sure. So in terms of, now your like personal journey of being a podcaster, of course, we discussed a little bit about that. But as a listener, what are some of your favorite podcasts?
I like How I Built This by Guy
Mm,
Raz.
love that
I
one.
like
Yeah.
I like to listen to Jay Shetty. There's
Mhm.
Boss Babes. Then there is Jenna Kutcher. I love listening. It doesn't come out as often. Naval Ravikant's podcast.
Mhm.
So there are quite a few out there. There's Business Wars. So there are quite a
I
few
love
of
that
them.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to listen to
Really.
all of these. And I like to switch it up. So there are
Mhm.
some podcasts I listen to regularly, and there are some that I find suddenly and then I want to listen. So then there's the Jasmine Star Show. I'm just like checking for the
Mhm.
ones that I always listen to. Marie Forleo. Those are the popular ones that I kind of listen to. And of course, again, they don't come out as often, but Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma. So I listen to all of these, but I love How I Build This. I love Work Party. These are some
Mhm.
podcasts that I listen to. The Indian ones I've still got to. I listen to Varun sometimes, and I
Mhm.
listen to. There is this podcast on. It's called Books and Beyond. So sometimes
Mhm.
I just listen in on that, but it does take. There has to be this time, right? So if you're doing if you're driving, then you listen to it, or if you're walking, you listen to it. And sometimes when I'm working, I listen to it, but then I find that my focus isn't there, and I miss some of the stuff, so I have to rewind, go back. So it's
Yeah.
finding that time as well when the commute wasn't there. Pre-pandemic, I listened to a lot of podcasts. Post-pandemic, it's gotten harder.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the same with me. The long commutes is where my podcast, time would
Yeah.
go usually. But I really recently started like, fictional ones as well, because all this while the past few years was just educational content, interviews, and those sorts of things. And I absolutely love that. But very recently, even Spotify Original has a lot of like thriller and fictional podcasts at this such well produced content where they there's music and there's like multiple characters in play and all
Wow.
those things. It's like a whole experience on its own.
Okay.
So yeah, that's definitely something I've like grown to like over the past couple of months actually.
Yeah,
But
you should
even
send
Business
me your.
Wars, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
definitely it's so well produced because there's like
Yeah.
characters, they're changing their voice, there's
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
background stuff. It's yeah, so something like that even in fictional formats. Yeah, why watch Netflix when you can be
I'm
doing
going to check
something
out
else?
this. I didn't. I'm probably missing out on this. So thank you. Send
Mhm.
your recommendations. I'm going to listen into some of these for pure entertainment.
I know, yeah, for sure. I also wanted to ask you about just generally skills
Hmm.
for being a podcaster. Of course, like we've talked a bunch about logistics and things like that. But do you have to be a certain kind of speaker or a conversationalist, or have you learned that over time? What's the deal? Like, what's your opinion on that?
My thing is, you don't have to be any specific person because people want to hear different voices, and
Mhm.
you'll find your own audience who like what you have to share. So don't change yourself, don't tailor yourself. Having said that, yeah, you could pick up some skill sets. I, for the life of me, couldn't have done interviews before. So before I started the podcast in March, from January, I started doing LinkedIn interviews, which was
Mhm.
only going on my YouTube. This Women of Impact series that I did, that really helped me hone my interviewing skills because I always knew that the format that I wanted to have when I had my podcast was going to be interviews primarily.
Mhm.
Then of course, I decided to do solos as well because it's not always that you get a guest, and then I, as a coach, had some content. Now maybe you are someone who does not have something personally to share, so but you enjoy doing interviews and you're able to bring on good guests, and that's fine. So I think, like, if you're going to do interviews, pick up some, watch a few interviews, learn some interviewing techniques. But otherwise, I don't think there's anything that you need to change about yourself. You will find your, it's like every video that anyone ever did. The first one is rubbish, the second one is not so great, by the seventh one you're better. So you learn along the way.
Yeah.
And I feel like, with podcasters, don't overthink it. There's no right moment to start one. Just get started and improve as you go along.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like even for me, I was like of a thought process that I'll wait for a couple of years and I'll become an expert in a topic after working for a few years in that field, and then I'll
Mm.
go start a podcast, and like because I'll have some sort of authority to talk about a topic because I'd have done work. But then the alternative was, why not bring in people who are already experts in the topic and really, ask them good questions.
Yeah.
And it's, again, I agree with you. It's the overthinking part also, like, sort of starts to fade away after a point,
Yeah.
because the post-production works gets so annoying. So you're like, it's fine if I keep a few filler words in or all of that stuff. We just
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
done with it. So yeah, I mean, as long as we're consistent and know that the questions we are asking and the kind of content we're putting out there is valuable and is actually making sense,
Yeah.
it's fine if the other tiny things aren't as
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, generally, like over the past year, there's so many, especially in India, been such a surge of listeners and podcasts, right? Also regional content.
Yeah.
Where do you see like the whole ecosystem going, moving forward? Not just being the content creator yourself, but all the aspects that go around in creating
Yeah.
podcasts or any kind of audio content generally.
Yeah. I think it's just going to grow. And why not? Because the earliest form of communication that we have had with the outside world has been audio. It was radios before
Mhm.
television was a thing. So people consume content in many different ways. Some people like to listen, some people like to watch, some people like to read. So there's always going to be space for audio. And
Mhm.
audio is a very easy form to consume as well, because you could be doing other things and you could be listening as well,
Right.
unlike let's say television or reading, because you can't be doing something else and reading at the same time. So I think audio has always been there's always been an audience for audio. We've always connected with people over audio. It's our earliest form of communication and it will remain so. And there's going to be so much more coming. And that's always going to happen. You have this growth phase. There are many people, there are many content creators, many different voices. And then there are the ones who will stay and which take off, and the ones that maybe lose out because of lack of consistency or quality or a value addition to people, and that's okay. So I feel like this is the time for audio to grow in terms of podcasting per se, because people are here for it.
Mhm.
People want it. And with regional podcasts, I think it's really going to be, we are a population of 1.3 billion. There is somebody always wanting to listen, and with everyone having a phone in their pocket, it's very easy to consume audio at this time. So I think it's here to stay and it'll just grow.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. In terms of the monetization behind that, right? I know since it's in the nascent stages,
Yeah.
a lot of it, even brands and sponsorships is sort of getting ready to,
Yes.
invest money
Yes.
in it and go from there. But as someone who's probably, loving the whole process and wants to do this full time, I might be asking this for myself. So, how long would the process of, being able to make it a sustainable career might take for you, granted you don't already have an online presence? Because if you're already an influencer, you're going to get
Yeah.
listeners easily.
Yes. Yes. I think if you continue to focus on the content that you put out, the value of the content, and if you focus on consistency and trying to keep leveling up, in the long term, you can make it a career. But podcasting is such a industry where it can be one of the things that you do. It does not have to be your main gig. I mean, of course you can be Joe
Mhm.
Rogan and get this really big deal, and that can be just one way. But most people who are content creators don't usually stick to one medium. They find different ways to share that content. So does it have to be your only career? Not necessarily. But having said that, how fast you'll grow depends on the value you provide, the audience you're able to grow, and how much you're able to put yourself out there, which means that you have to invest a little bit in marketing. And when I mean invest, I'm not saying spend money, but invest in terms of time and energy and effort
Mhm.
out there, right? You've got to be able to market your podcast, get people to listen in, show up everywhere, talk about your podcast, get those collaborations going. And finally, do you have to wait for a sizable audience to get brands? Not necessarily.
Mhm.
Depending on the type of audience that you're catering to, you can put your pitch to brands and tell them that, hey, you're going to get this many listens, and you can start monetizing it right now. Because you see, radio stations, they do get ads too,
Right.
right? But of course the reach is different. But I think
Mhm.
you can still pitch, and you need to start doing the outreach. So I feel do the combination of all three. keep up leveling your content, improving it, and improving the quality of your podcast. Keep doing your marketing that is required. You cannot expect your podcast to grow just like that. I mean, it can happen. Some lucky souls are there, it just like takes off and goes
Mhm.
viral, but there is an effort that has probably gone into it. And then the third is to continue to do outreach. And in the beginning, the size of the ticket size of the monetization may be small, the check size may be small, but it can grow. You can
Right.
get a long term partnership and it can grow.
Yeah, just got to be patient with that. And I think it's the same with, being a YouTuber or like any kind of
Yes.
content creator
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
Like all the people that we see that have millions of followers, they probably didn't in the first couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a really like slow process, but when it takes off, it does. And a lot of these podcasters I see are they're writing on the side, like you said, it's
Yeah.
not just one thing you have to do. There's
Yeah.
books that are being published out of the experiences they get after taking so many interviews and things like that. Even like Guy Raz, he has a
Yeah.
book based on all the interviews he's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities that keep popping up as well. So yeah, I think I am done with most of my questions on podcasting. If there's any
We can
last
move
words you
to
want to
the
say,
other. Yeah,
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
for
For
podcasting, my last words would be consistent, be consistent, be consistent.
Mhm.
Don't quit. If you stick to one, if you commit to, even if it's once in 2 weeks, release that episode once in 2 weeks. Stick
Mhm.
to that. First, make that happen before you think of anything else. So just be consistent. And I want to quote Narayan Murthy over here when he said, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success. So have patience as well.
Yeah.
Something may not take off as fast as you want it to, but it will happen if you can just keep your head in the game long enough, because a lot of people will quit over a period of time, but you have got to have that staying power.
Mhm. Awesome. Love that.